Welcome to the Leeds Rhinos Podcast, episode 8, and it's our Thursday Q&A edition when we bring you all the answers to your questions. Make sure you keep sending your questions to info@therhinos.co.uk and we'll get the answers straight from the source to keep you up to date with everything that's going on at the Rhinos here at AMT Hetherington. I'm delighted to be joined by our Chief Executive, Gary Hetherington, for this week's episode. My name's Phil Daly. I'm the Head of Media and PR at the Rhinos. Gary, you've just got back this week from a very successful trip, a quick one for you, over in the States at Las Vegas. First of all, give us your impressions of the weekend and the concept as a whole over in Vegas.
Yes, it was a bit of a lightning visit by myself. The first Rhinos game I've missed for 28 years, so I didn't intend missing it, but I ended up going to Las Vegas, a pretty last minute job really, and it's my first experience of Las Vegas. So like everybody else, I've heard about it, a big brash city, of course, and you build up certain expectation of it as well. I have to say that my experience was even more so. It was bigger and brasher than I could have ever imagined, and that sort of hits you as you get off the aeroplane at Las Vegas airport, because that's different. Everything about Las Vegas is different. It's exciting, it's vibrant. It was brilliant to have a rugby league festival there on the day with so many rugby league fans here from Leeds. I wanted to get a number from Leeds, but from all over the world, from Australia, from New Zealand, from the different parts of the world. And to be on that centre stage and have as much media attention as the game got was fantastic.
And it wasn't just about the 4 games on that one day. It was a festival. There's lots going on in the week building up to it.
There was. I only got there Thursday evening, so I missed a lot of the fan engagement events, but everybody who attended them, and there were 15,000 at the main one on the Thursday night, and all the teams were there as well. Everybody was sort of glowing in the tributes. Apparently the NRL did a great job in the organisation of it all, the promotion of it all. The locals turned out as well, and I think it was a great experience, particularly for the fans, but also for the players as well. The players of all the competing teams, the officials. There's everybody there, and it was just a real sort of extravaganza of rugby league and a real festival of rugby league, and of course some really important games as well. But it was a pleasure to be part of the rugby league scene in a city like Las Vegas.
And there was a big conference as well at the university, learning from American sport, but also cross ideas between the NRL and Super League.
I attended that one, pretty much an all-day affair as well at the University of Las Vegas. Quite a remarkable conference. It included people like Andrew Abdo, the chief exec of the NRL, Matt Dwyer from IMG, and then some leading speakers and personalities from American sport. I think one of the sort of messages really was just how big and vibrant American sport is and how important it is to the economy of America as well. And then, they were talking about the potential for rugby league, because the Americans were saying, hey, you've got a great game. And we need to hear more about it. And there's a real opportunity for your game to grow internationally as well. And that was one of the sort of key messages. I think the growth of female sport, particularly in America as well, was quite a key factor. But I think what it did for such as myself was just remind me really of the potential that rugby league has got, and that hitherto has been untapped as well. And I think it's been a very bold and ambitious plan by the NRL to take the game to the United States, to actually showcase what rugby league's all about, and top-class rugby league at that, and to bring that to the attention of the American public. And the American public love it. They really enjoy it and got engaged in it.
And in terms of the game day itself, what was it like? Allegiant Stadium looked incredible on TV. What was it like being in the stadium?
It was fantastic. It was a fantastic experience. 4 games is possibly a game too many. That's even for somebody like myself.
Even for you, Gary.
Even for me, that's a big. But look, there were 4 different games, and every game had got its own attraction. But the stadium itself is fabulous. It's a fairly new stadium. I forgot how many $1 billion it cost to actually erect, but everything about it is top class. And the stadium itself is worth a visit, just to be part of the stadium. But the entertainment between the games was outstanding as well. Some big name acts. didn't mean a lot to me, but they were certainly very entertaining, and the crowd really bought into it. I think the Aussies were not known for singing, but they got carried away with the English fans, and they set a good lead. And the whole thing was just a terrific experience, and one that I'm really pleased that I was able to experience myself.
And it was a great television event as well, which sometimes we sort of take that for granted. I thought Sky Sports did a fantastic job all week building up to it, and then on the game day they had the studio where Sam Thompson and John Wilkin were in the studio with Jenna Brooks, and that looked great. And they crossed across to the stadium. Of course, you'll have missed all this, but they crossed across to it, and looking at some of the figures that the RL commercial have put out this week, it was the most viewed Sky Sports game, other than one game during the COVID period. 340,000 was the peak, and that's the highest ever for a Super League game. Huge numbers, and they talked about a halo effect, and then the following day, the Wakefield versus Saints game on BBC, that had the highest BBC figures we've had for a Super League game, and that was up 15%, the peak audience on that. And 6% of the audience on the day. So when we create a big event like this, there are ripples that flow out from out there.
And, we've been guilty of not creating enough big events and enough international events. And, as I say, once again, credit to the NRL for actually creating this concept, and credit to Wigan and Warrington as well, who actually bought into it, and they become the first two Super League teams to play a competitive game out there. And I think the English game is a bit different to the NRL game, but it's got its own attraction. The whole thing, the internationalism of it, you've got the New Zealand Warriors, we've got Australian NRL teams, we've got Wigan, we've got Warrington, we've got the women's game as well. The whole international flavour of it actually showcased rugby league really well. And everybody, as you said, that spoke about it, spoke glowingly. And I think, just speaking to the Americans, they were blown away with it. They were blown away with the game, with the concept, with the enthusiasm of the fans, with the whole actually match day experience. So you didn't really need to be a rugby league fan to go to that occasion and really have a good experience. It was terrific. The music, the sound system, the entertainment, the on-pitch entertainment as well. Everything about it was top class. And in terms of next year, it can be even bigger and better. It was bigger and better than last year. Last year was the first event. The NRL's plan is to build it each year. So I think 2026 is something to really look forward to.
Yeah, and they've said there was a 10% growth on last year's crowd into this year, and over 10,000 British fans travelling out. So it shows that the huge potential that's there. We'll come back to how implications that could have for the international game and rugby league's place within the international sport. We'll go to a couple of questions we've had in. John Horton wrote, "What does the colours of our shirts sometimes turn from blue and amber to blue and yellow instead?" Well, it's a good question, this. It's something when we're talking about kits, we often get asked. I remember a couple of years ago, we produced a retro shirt from the Water Splash final, and we actually got Bev Risman's shirt. His family gave it to us, and we had the colours sampled. So we made sure we got the exact same colours of that. And when we had the shirt produced, we all thought the amber look too yellow. So it's a real thing of taste. One man's yellow is another man's amber, but we do try and keep to that amber, the darker end of the yellow spectrum. Your thoughts on that, Gary?
I agree, Phil.
Excellent stuff. We had a good question from Ralph Barraclough earlier in the week about Tom Holroyd's call-up from the disciplinary, but I think Ralph's question was answered by the disciplinary panel, and the two games for Tom we're happy with, and we're looking forward to Tom coming back in a couple of weeks. We also had a question from Ian Torley and Heather Smith regarding our range of merchandise that's available in the store. I've actually put that question to our kit manufacturers, Oxen. Those guys have been overseas. They're actually in Vegas last week, getting involved in that. So we'll hear back from them in a couple of weeks, and we'll let you know the answer to that question. But it was a great question just about the range of gear that we have throughout the course of the season. So we'll get you an answer on that one. And this one, Gary, you'll definitely have an insight on this one. Question from Scott Lister, and this was on X that we got this through. Do players have restrictions when going on holiday or in their spare time? E.g., they're not allowed to go surfing, rock climbing or hiking because of the high percentage of injury risk. Is that something that's built into contracts?
Yes, it is. Yes. There's an expectation that players look after themselves and protect themselves and don't do risky things because their profession is to play rugby, of course. But yes, that is part and parcel of players' contracts and responsibilities as well. So to do anything that represents a possible danger, they need to get permission, and the club needs to be aware of it.
Yeah, and of course, what you've got to remember as well is that the window for a player's holiday is quite a slim one. You hopefully have a successful season. You're going into the early stages of October. You might become an international, and then you're into sort of mid-November, and then you're back in pre-season. So that there aren't many things you can do in late November and early December that
certainly
are
not
that
in
risky.
England.
Exactly, yeah. And then we had one from Howard Stevenson. Well, Howard, we probably need a bit more information on this, but we'll tackle this one. Why is the bar in the East Stand so poor? Howard, you didn't say which East Stand, whether it's rugby or cricket, because obviously we have both open on a Rhinos match day. I know there was an issue in the long bar after last week's game. There was an issue around the number of bar staff in there. We do work constantly with our providers, Sodexo. They're great partners of ours, and we do ask for your patience. Obviously, early in the season, we've got a lot of new staff starting, just getting back into the swing of games. But we are looking at those issues. We do look after them after every game. We look at where there's been pinch points, and Gary, you ask for the numbers, don't you, for the bar? So it's not something that gets overlooked. So that is something we look at. Thank you to everyone who's coming to the long bar after the game. It's a Gold members benefit. It's great to see so many in there. The players go in there as well. Make sure if you are a Gold member to get across the long bar after the game. It's a great way to get to meet the players, get your autographs, get your selfies with the guys, and hear from all the people involved after the game. But yeah, thanks for that question, Howard. I think I've answered it there. But if you need any more information, get back in touch, info@therhinos.co.uk, and we'll get those problems sorted for you. Gary, we touched on the international game there in Vegas, bringing both the NRL and Super League together on one weekend. I've heard comments from Andrew Abdu, from Peter Volandis, from the Fox Sports guys like Andrew Voss and Matty Johns talking about the impact the Warrington and Wigan fans, the colour and the noise they brought to that game. And what I thought was quite good how they organised it is that they kept them in their ends. You know, at Magic Weekend, people are out and move around, so you don't really get that sense of that tribal sense, but they kept them in those ends, and they made so much noise, and it looked great on TV to see a packed end there. Do you think that'll have an impact on the Aussies, remembering actually what they do love about the British game?
I think so. I think we're held in high regard around the world, but particularly by the Australians for the singing, and of course it happens in cricket as well, and but certainly in rugby league. So I think the Aussie fans do love our fans. They might not say so, but they do. And I think it was so good to see the Wigan fans and the Canberra fans effectively all together. I think we even taught the Canberra fans how to sing, albeit Wigan songs. But that's terrific as well. And I think rugby league should pride itself on that, because it's one of the few sports which actually brings fans integrating and mingling and supporting each other as well. And that was a real feature, I thought, from last week, how the various fans sort of got together and mingled with each other and enjoyed each other's company and supported each other's team as well. And I think that's a real feature of rugby league.
We've got a huge chance now, haven't we, over the next 18 months? We've obviously, if you take Vegas as a kick-off point, and then we've got an Ashes series in this country at the end of the year, then already a commitment to obviously back in Vegas starting next year, and then a World Cup in Australia. A huge opportunity to build that global brand.
It is, yes, and the game's got off to a great start, and the Super League competition is as competitive as ever, and of course we've got a great finish with the Ashes series. It's the first time we've had an Ashes series for 20 odd years from memory, and that's great to resurrect England versus Australia here in England, and an Australia team that'll take some beating, but we'll be pretty well primed and motivated to win that series. And that's going to be a great festival of top-class rugby league for the British fans as well. And there's so much history and heritage attached to England, Great Britain versus Australia. And I can't wait to sort of see those test matches and see how we can perform in those. And then in the middle, we've got a terrific competition. We've got a terrific Super League competition, Betfred Super League. We've got a terrific Championship, League One. I think the game is pretty strong on the pitch. We've got a bit to do, a bit of work to do off the pitch, and there's quite a bit. But there's so much happening and so much vibrancy in the sport, and our attendances hopefully will grow. Our TV viewership will grow. Sky are getting behind the game. And you give a good example with Vegas as to the amount of time and effort that they put into it as well. So the indicators are pretty good. That's not to say that there's work to be done. Of course there is. But I think we can all look forward to a really vibrant season ahead.
Yeah, I think it's a real positive time to be involved in the game. You look at the crowd that Wigan got for their opening game against Lee. The RL Commercial reported this week that attendance are up 15% year on year. People are beginning to sort of really get into the season now. We Rhinos go away to Catalans this weekend, and then it's St Helens at Totally Wicked. And if you haven't got your ticket yet for that, make sure you go. That's going to be a really tough game for the boys. We need every single one of you over there. The Challenge Cup, the magic of the Challenge Cup. We really want to see that return. It'd be great this year to think. We talk about big events. It'd be great to see us sell out Wembley this year. Get the Challenge Cup back where we all think it should be. And that starts next week at St Helens. Make sure you get over, and then of course, Wigan here in a couple of weeks. One of the biggest games. Always one that goes in the calendar. First of all, it's a Saturday evening game, something a bit different as well. Yeah. That should be pretty special.
Look, I think as you said, there's so much sort of vibrancy and energy within the game, which is terrific, and there's so many events to look forward to. And we at Leeds Rhinos can be quite excited about our season as well. It's not going to be plain sailing because it never has. It never is for anybody. It's such a tough, competitive competition, and that's how it should be. And every match, nobody's quite sure who's going to win, and that's a great competition to have. So I'm really looking forward to the season ahead at all different levels as well. As a rugby league fan as I am, looking forward to Leeds Rhinos. I think we're going to be really competitive this year, and we need to challenge. And as you say, that game at St Helens, you wouldn't choose to play St Helens away. St Helens wouldn't have chose to play us, but it'll be it's a great tie if you win it, and if we can win that, then I think we can march on with a good deal of confidence.
Looking ahead to that Wigan game in a couple of weeks, we had a couple of questions in about the players' routine after the game. You might have noticed afterwards there's been a bit of a change this year. So what Brad has asked for, he wants to be able to speak to all the players after the game, as you'd expect, all together to immediately get into them. If you watch the behind the game features that are brilliantly being done by Ram Films this year, you'll see that Brad always speaks to the players, and it's pretty clear. Certainly his message last week. If you've not seen last week's, definitely get that. Have a watch that on our YouTube channel. Brad was pretty clear what he thought of the last 20 minutes of the game against Cass, and so Brad wants to get the guys in. So what they'll do is they'll at the final hooter, they'll be on the pitch for around 10-15 minutes, but they won't have a chance to go around and do selfies and autographs for all sides of the ground. But they'll be out there for 10-15 minutes, and then they'll go into the dressing room. If you're a Gold member, head up to the long bar where you can meet the guys up there. If you're not a Gold member, get down to the ground early. The lads are more than happy to sign autographs as they arrive into the ground. We'll also be having more events during the school holidays for kids to come down for free and open training sessions, so you can get your selfies, your autographs, all that then. And then obviously we have our traditional one on the final game of the season where they go all the way around the pitch, and what we're going to do is we're going to introduce another one of those mid-season, so we do that twice a year so everyone can get their autographs that they need, but that's what you see. You also see them now, they've got these little yellow rugby balls they sign and they'll throw it in the crowd, so if you're down the front, give the players a shout and you'll get one of those really exclusive signed balls before they head in. But hopefully you can understand why Brad needs to get them in. Brad won't speak to him. If there's one or two players outside, everyone has to wait for those to come in. So the plan now is to get everyone inside. Brad can speak to him. Brad's then got to do the post-match press conference. A couple of guys go up to the Howard Suite to speak to our corporate guests, and then obviously we want them to get into Long Bar to see our Gold members. So hopefully understand why we've sort of restricted that time while they're out in the field, and you can work with us on that one. But there's always opportunities to get those autographs across the whole season. So hopefully you can do that. Just finally, Gary, we've talked about the season ahead and how hopefully you are of it. You're pleased with how the season started. Obviously we had that competitive game against Wakefield in round one, but they showed that they're back as a force in Super League, and they're doing some great things down at Wakefield. But since then we've really begun to pick up our form.
Absolutely, and we've got quite a few injuries as well, which is quite disruptive. But we have a really strong squad. Brad's sort of a very experienced coach, knows exactly what he wants, and got a very clear message to both particularly the players and the fans as well, of course. I think it's a really good time to be a Rhinos fan. We need to get back, be really competing for major honours. I think we have a good chance this year. I don't underestimate the competition at all, because I think this is the most competitive Super League we've ever had. And I've said that once or twice in the past, but I really do believe that at this moment in time, this is as competitive a Super League that we've ever had. So everybody's got a chance, but we've got a good chance as well. And things are in pretty good shape for us. I think we've got plenty to look forward to.
Thanks for that, Gary. Remember to subscribe to make sure you get all the latest podcasts when they drop. We'll be back with you on Monday for our review of Saturday's game at Catalans, and we'll give you a great insight into that result. Give us your questions as well at info@therhinos.co.uk. Keep sending those questions and we'll get your answers on our Thursday Q&A edition. Remember to leave a review as well so we get up those podcast charts. We really want to spread the word about Leeds Rhinos and all our podcasts. We've got a range of podcasts available now, not just the Monday and the Thursday. We've got Box 2, which brought association with Best Western GB Hotels. And we've also got our Roots to Rhinos, our chat with Ryan Golding, the head ground person here at the AMT Hetherington Stadium, where he talks about that. And coming soon, we've got a great new podcast about the Leeds Rugby League heritage that you'll really enjoy. There'll be one of them a week dropping, and we've got some fascinating stories from the history of the club. So make sure that you subscribe, stay in touch with us. If you're going to Perpignan, have a good trip. We'll hopefully see you over there. Make sure you've packed your waterproofs because it's going to be a bit wet over there. If you're not, enjoy watching it on Sky Sports Plus, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us.